unprecedented day, but a day that you've been predicting now for over a year. President Joe Biden did officially step down from the 2024 race. What are your thoughts?
It had to happen. It was very clear over 2.5 years ago that he was suffering mental deterioration. And unfortunately, medicine has found no way to stop it or reverse it. And what the real scandal is it was covered up. Political press corps, mostly for the most part, ignored it. Democratic leaders in Congress ignored it. The White House suppressed it. They did everything they could to make it look like he could go. It was amazing that they could get him through one term. But the idea that he would then go for a second term, that is even the bigger scandal. So it had to happen, and the question now is, where do they go from here? We're already beginning to get the outlines of it. And one thing was very interesting. He did that original letter, released that letter on Sunday, and then shortly after released the endorsement of Kamala Harris as vice president. There's a little history on that. He was the vice president, obviously, under Barack Obama. In 2016, Biden wanted to run for president, and Barack Obama, in the most humiliating way possible, quashed Joe Biden's aspirations to run for president, said it's going to be Hillary, and did so in a way that both he, Biden, and his wife, Dr. Jill, have never forgotten, never will forget. So he made sure when he withdrew, I don't know whether they intended to do it this soon, but endorse her now. And Barack Obama's clumsy attempt to try to create a condition where perhaps Michelle Obama could run or somebody else could plausibly run was quashed. And what also this shows is that former President Obama, when it comes to that kind of political maneuvering, is not very good. He's no Franklin Roosevelt, a four-term president, who was a master at it. Just one quick story on that. In 1944, in the midst of World War II, Roosevelt was running for a fourth term. He wanted to get rid of his vice president, a man named Henry Wallace. And Roosevelt did it in a way where there are no fingerprints on it at all. He told Wallace to his face several times, if I were a delegate to the convention, I'd be supporting you. And yet he maneuvered him in a way in which Wallace was dumped, and Harry Truman, whom they called the Missouri Compromise, senator from Missouri, became vice president and then president. So Obama so far has batted zero in terms of guiding the party, and Biden was going to make sure he was going to have Kamala Harris on the top of that ticket. And if it looked like somebody was going to seriously challenge Kamala Harris, I believed that Biden would have resigned the presidency, made her the incumbent, and there was no way a Democratic convention was going to go against an incumbent president of their own party.
You bring up a really interesting point about former President Obama, and that is he did not endorse Vice President Kamala Harris either when he was writing his statement about President Biden stepping down from 2024. So what do you think is next? Because Democrats largely coalesced around Vice President Kamala Harris to be the presumptive nominee. Some have called for an open convention. What does it look like between now and the convention?
Well, there's just no time. You could make a case that if they had a normal primary season, Kamala Harris wouldn't have done much better than she did when she ran in 2020, had to drop out in 2019 before the first vote was cast. But now they have her. And so they're making the best of what they thought would be an unlikely situation. So it's going to be very hard for somebody to openly go and challenge her. So she has to defeat herself between now and the end of the month. And that's not likely to happen. So unless she did something crazy and they said, oops, let's get another one, it's not going to happen. She'll be the Democratic nominee. And the question is, who will be the running mate? And who's going to weigh in on that?